Welcome everybody to my podcast, Big Little Small Talk. I'm Megan O'Hara-Sullivan and I love to talk, but I also love to listen. If you're new here, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to Big Little Small Talk. You're with me, Megan O'Hara-Sullivan, and I have a guest today whose name is Katrina Christensen. Welcome, Katrina.
Hi, thank you, Megan. Lovely to be here.
Katrina, tell me, are you the Democratic candidate for the 2024 US election? I'll take that as a no.
No, I'm not.
No, okay. All right. Well, you must.
But wow.
You could be.
I could be.
Katrina, I met you the other day, and I think sometimes when I meet people, I know straight away that I want to interview them for my podcast because you have such a varied life. You've done so much in your life. And I'm going to start with your qualification, which is you studied at the Queensland Conservatorium of Music. And I think the listeners, as soon as they hear your voice, will understand that you've got some sort of rich training there. Tell me about going to the conservatorium.
Well, it was back when I was very, very young. So I was 17. I auditioned. I got in to the preparatory course. I did that. And then I went in to do the Diploma of Music. So I was studying opera and piano, and it was a magical time.
Okay. Where had you grown up? Where's childhood?
Yeah, born and bred in Rocky.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what made you think that you could even go to the conservatorium and become an opera singer, a little girl from Rockhampton? Did you have somebody? I mean, that's a pretty...
It's a great question because it was never on the cards for me. I thought I was just going to leave high school, become a secretary, even though I was terrible at typing. And I thought I would just get married and have children and life would just be, going down that path. But I was involved in church, and the music teacher at church said to my parents, she has to go to university, she has to study voice. And from there, I went into my first Eisteddfod at the age of 16. And after that decided, okay, so we'll go down the path of auditioning, and here I am.
Had you been a musical family? Where does the talent come from, do you think?
Mum always says it was from her screaming at the kids.
Tell me about the family. Is it the Christensen family?
No. So that's my married name. So Elgar is actually my maiden name, and we are in the... So Edward Elgar is one of our ancestors. So, yes.
So who's Sir Edward Elgar?
Sir Edward Elgar.
Excuse my ignorance, beg your pardon.
So he's a great composer over in England. Yeah,
because I'm thinking Agar, Petri dish. It's not
Agar.
No, it's Elgar.
Elgar. E-L-G-A-R. Yeah, look, everyone got it wrong.
Including probably when you came out from England and they changed it to Edward or Elgar. Yeah.
No. There's still Elgars around, and there is another version. There's Algar, A-L-G-A-R as well. Yeah. So, but no, there's not a lot of us around.
And tell me about Edward. What was his claim to fame?
So he wrote. Now you put me on the spot because I should know this, but he wrote Land of Hope and Glory. So if you know
Which is
a composition that is very big over in England. Land of hope and glory, da 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 da. You would know it when you heard it.
I'm sure I would. Yes, if I was a tiny bit more cultured, I probably would, instead of just knowing every word to every cultural song that was ever released.
And they're coming back, so that will be a good one to go to.
I've tried to get tickets. Don't worry, it's all sold out.
Oh no!
They've released 6 more concerts apparently, so we're back on the waiting list.
Oh, good.
Anyway,
good.
Back to you.
Yes, back to me.
Okay, so big family, growing up, lots of kids.
My mum is actually one of 18.
Oh my God! Truly?
And she's...
So how old? What year was your mother born?
She was born 45, so she was the last of the children to be born. Her father was out on a property felling some trees, and unfortunately it fell on him, and he passed away. So mum was 2, so that put an end to any more siblings younger than mum.
Wow.
So
what was the age gap between her and her eldest sibling?
Look, I don't really know, but one of my aunties passed away probably 2 years ago when she was 102. And my mum's just turned 79, so yeah. So
what does your mother? What's your sense of growing up? Of your mother's sense of growing up in a family of 18?
Well, I only had one brother, so going round to my auntie's house at Christmas time was fabulous because all the cousins would be there, and or the majority that were around my age group. And I'm the 61st first cousin. Yeah.
That is incredible, isn't
Yeah, it
it?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Did you know your grandmother?
no, she passed 3 months before I was born. So I was the only grandchild that she didn't get to see.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
sadly. Yeah.
I just cannot imagine physically having 18 children. Do
No,
you know
nor can
whether she
I.
had other births and which didn't survive?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Right.
No.
And so your mother, I asked that question because I had a friend who came from a really big family, and she said by the time her mother got to say goodnight to her, she'd already gone to sleep. Like there were so many in
Yeah.
the family, and yet I would have thought you'd really relish being in a big family like that. So, what do you think your mother thought about it?
Oh, look, I think she had a good life growing up because, not only did she have brothers and sisters, she had all the nieces and nephews, and majority of those would have been around her age. So, I've got cousins who are older than my mum, and so I call them aunt and uncle. I just sort of feel like, they need that level of respect, even though they're just my cousin. Um, but yeah, so like, unfortunately, it wouldn't have been the whole 18 around the house at one stage, because they were growing up and moving on and having their own families. But there was a closer group of siblings that, I would sort of relate to the most. And that's about four aunties and their husbands and their children, because they're closer in age to me. Yeah.
At statistics, 65 first cousins.
No, 61.
61.
61.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like to exaggerate things, don't
Oh,
I?
yeah.
So
Let's go 80.
let's go back to you're at high school, and this teacher suggested, or someone at church
Someone at church, yeah.
suggested about. And had you been doing musical things before then?
No, just at church, yeah, and learning the piano.
You
Yeah.
had been learning the
Yeah,
piano.
so that was, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But I always sang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And were you singing in the school musicals or?
Yeah, I was. We didn't really. I went to two high schools, and the first high school didn't really do musicals so much as they did plays. And then I went to another high school who didn't really have a great music program. So, no, I kind of didn't really get that chance, at high school. I did during the church. We were sort of, church was very musical, so I got to sort of express myself there. But yeah, it wasn't until I sort of got out of high school and uni and decided to go into a musical, when I got home. And yeah, so I haven't sort of done a lot on stage, but I've done enough to put my foot in it and go, yeah, I liked that.
You applied to Brisbane because the Queensland Conservatorium is at Gardens
right.
Point and isn't it at QUT?
Yeah.
And where did you go to live? How did you sort of navigate that? Were you the first person in your family to go to university?
Yeah, I was.
And what about your cousins? Have they all been?
Most of them were older than me, so I didn't really sort of know that part of them. But I don't think any of them had on my mum's side so much as on my father's side. But they were younger than me, so they sort of came up after me through the ranks. And
so this little girl from Rocky, she lands in Brisbane. And where did you live?
Oh, I lived everywhere. I lived in Paddington. I lived in Toowong. I lived in Algester.
So you lived in share houses?
Yeah. I lived with the family at one stage. I lived with my aunt and uncle at another. And then, share houses. And, just was living the dream.
Yeah. You navigated it okay. You weren't too homesick or
look, initially I was. That first 6 months, I think you move anywhere, you're homesick, and then you start to find your way. And,
And what's it like? I studied at QUT, and I used to see those people traipsing into conservatorium and thinking they were just so highbrow.
A lot of them were.
Not you?
Not me. So I kind of hung with the jazz boys. And I got in trouble for it a lot.
Did you? That sounds like an interesting story. Tell me about the different groups that are at the conservatorium. You say, the jazz boys.
Yeah, so you had the singers, the opera singers, and you had the ones that took it really seriously, and you had the ones that were just there because they could sing. And so then you had the jazz musicians, and they were always really cool. And you had all the different sort of musos in the sense of the violinists and the trumpet players and the pianists. And so
what's the you said that the jazz singers are the jazz players are the sort of the cool kids.
Yeah.
And what's the hierarchy after that? If you had to stereotype the cello players, what are they like?
Oh gosh, you're putting me on the spot. It's been so long, Megan. Look, I'd probably put them into the serious club, but yeah. Whereas, if you're in the jazz group, it doesn't matter if you smoke or drink. It's kind of adds to the, the look that you've got. Whereas, if you're an opera singer and you're out there guzzling some wine or bourbon or, having a few durries,
You're thinking
You-
about
your instrument.
yeah,
Yeah, you have to
yeah,
look after it.
yeah.
So yeah.
And you were doing a fair bit of that, looking after your
Oh,
voice, were
what,
you?
drinking
Well,
bourbon
no,
and
no,
smoking?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
No, not at all. I was a good girl.
Yeah. And what were you thinking that you would do when you finished? What was the plan?
I had no idea. Yeah, I really didn't. I was just sort of there for the moment, and because someone said it might be a good idea, and I kind of went with it, and it was all very exciting. And but I was still sort of thinking, oh well, I'm going to meet someone, and I'm going to settle down and have children, and I did. So I met my husband, and we had
At university?
no. So I met him on a trip home back to Rocky, and decided that I was going to come back, and so I did, and we had two beautiful children. And I then ventured out of music for a long, long time, and I went into small business with my sister-in-law.
What sort of small business were you doing?
So we had a retail store. So we had both were doing things at home with the children. We were making things for ourselves, and then it turned out we'd make things for friends, and then friends of friends would say, oh, can you make that for me as well? And we got together one day just at a family gathering, and we were talking about it, and we thought there might be a little business in this. And there was. And 10 years later, when we wrapped it up.
What was the name of the store?
Well, we started out as Sweet and Shabby. I was the sweet one.
That was my next question. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So always he gets in first. Sorry, Vic. So no, we sort of started out, it was more to do with children's products and things that you couldn't get for the kids at the time. And then that just evolved into this massive 2-story building with, furniture and giftware and homewares and jewelry and handbags and clothing. And we had a high tea house at one stage there as well. And yeah, so then we went from being this little shop into this massive big shop, and then we decided it was all starting to get too big, and we sort of downsized again, and then at the end of it, we were sort of both being drawn, as our children got older, we were both being drawn into the education system. And so from there, I kind of stepped back into music, and Vicky went on to do some teacher aid. And
Shabby was off teacher aiding, and Sweet was
Sweet was off teaching singing and piano.
Okay, so take me there then. So had you, in that whole time since you left uni and you were having young kids in the business, all of that, had you done anything with music at all? Or?
No, not really. No, and it wasn't until my eldest Josie was in year 1, and we lost our music teacher at our school, and I was devastated because I thought, well, the children have to have music. And so I went up to the principal and I said, look, I'd like to volunteer to take the choir. And from there, that volunteering for a couple of years turned into being offered a job there. And so I took the choir, and we went to every Eisteddfod. I decided, well, we couldn't just go to Eisteddfod's. We had to do musicals. So the biggest musical that I've directed was with the whole school, all 300 children. And
which one was it?
St. Peter's. And we did, it was one that I actually sort of redeveloped, and I can't think of the storyline now, but it's the one with
Leroy will chop all of this out.
Yeah. Good.
Was it Wicked?
No. So primary school children, and it was the story of Christmas. I can't think what it's called. I'll have to find out for you.
That'll have to be something. The story of Christmas. Okay. Yeah. And so then you're doing this with the school, and that turns into a paid position, and so tell me what happened from there.
So from there, I was also asked by an independent music school to come and teach. So I went into doing singing and piano teaching, and I also had my own students. So I had my own studio, taught for another independent studio, and taught at the school. And then from there, I did that for probably a good 10 years again. And then a friend of mine who I met she was purely because she was auditioning, she'd opened up this bar types venue is the word I'm looking for, and she was auditioning for some singers to come do a jazz night, and I thought, oh, sounds pretty good, I might go and give this a go, and so we put on a jazz night, and from there I ended up working for her. So I sort of went, okay, I'll just step back from the school, and I'll step back from the independent music school, and I'll still have my students, and I'll work here. And then from there, I had a friend, one of the parents up at the school, who had 3 autistic boys, and she worked with an organisation, and she said, look, you really have to come and apply here. We really need you to come and work with us. And so I did. I went and applied. And
what was she thinking that you were going to do with them?
Was to work with people with disabilities and give them the beauty of music, the access to, being musical, and because she saw what I'd done with her sons, and she thought that, that would be great for the organisation. So from there I went in to work for this little disability organisation, and there was probably about 6 or 7 of us in the office at the time, and we grew from this small little office to this massive organisation, and I was writing programs, just educational programs. Sort of fell into it, didn't know what I was doing, but went through it and wrote. We had a music group and a sewing group and a entrepreneurial group, a gardening group, a boys group, a girls group, any sort of group you could think of.
This was going creating away from just the music and the singing. This is working with people with disabilities.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'll just remind the listeners that you're on 102.7 FM and we're on Big Little Small Talk. We're talking to Katrina Christensen, who is up to probably about the 3rd career, I think, so far. She's been at uni. She's had a small business. She was a music teacher at school, and now we're up to our 4th. We're working for a disability organisation. So with that, were you was that your own business, or were you working for someone at that stage?
At the venue?
Yeah.
No,
you were working for someone at the venue, but with this other organisation. It wouldn't have been NDIS at that stage, would it?
We were just transitioning over to NDIS. So that happened sort of the year that I started. And so, just writing all these educational programs, people were coming in, and if I wasn't running the group, I was showing someone how to run the group. So we had, homeschooling groups, drama group, activity groups, health and wellbeing groups, and all these different activities that people could participate in. And it was really good. It was really good because I've come down here and been Toowoomba, and when I first moved here, I was looking for somewhere that might offer those, facilities, and haven't really found anywhere that actually offers a lot of group work, which is really interesting because, people with a disability want to be around other people who are like them. And I just find it a shame that I don't, I'm out of it now though. So I'm not really,
Well, we might be skipping ahead there a little bit. So we're still in Rockhampton. How did you go to leave Rockhampton? What happened there?
So I was with my daughter, and she had decided that she wanted to go back to university, and she said, "Oh, Mum, would you come with me?" And
to Brisbane?
Right. Yeah. So I said, yeah, righto, why not? Going on a bit of an adventure, and so it ended up in Brisbane. I think I was there for 6 months. I didn't like it, and I decided I was going to move to Toowoomba.
So I don't want to be prying into your personal life, Katrina, but you and your husband had split up by this stage.
Yeah.
And so your daughter had said, "Okay, I'm going to go to uni."
Yeah.
And you thought, "I'll go and find those jazz boys that I hung out with way back in the day."
Oh, Megan, what do you know?
They're all bald and fat by then.
Yep.
Like the rest of us. So you said, okay, you went to Brisbane and you were there for 6 months, and you said, "This is not for me."
Yeah, no,
and,
not for me.
How did Toowoomba? What happened? Why did you come to Toowoomba?
Well, I actually lived here, and Josie was born here. So we lived here for 2 years. And in that time, Josie was born here, and I decided I really liked it. We only moved back because we'd had Josie, and when my father and Mum had come to visit, Dad got really quite sick, and so we thought, oh, look, and they were hoping to move down here, but because of that, that happening, decided that no, that wouldn't happen, and we thought, well, we're a young family now, and we need the support of family, so we moved home.
And was that always in the back of your mind that you might come back to Toowoomba?
Yeah.
And how long ago was that now?
That was almost 3 years ago now. Yeah.
I was listening to something on the radio the other day about making friends when you're older, and how we are so afraid to sort of show your vulnerabilities, I suppose, as an older person. And the person on the radio said, you don't say to people, "Will you be my friend?" like you do when you're younger. So how have you going into a whole other place as a single person and making friends?
Oh, well, I haven't. So when I first moved here, I decided I would, just go back into what I was doing before, which was the teaching, but I was going to do more of the therapy side of that. And so I got myself onto the Mabel app, and I met some clients who wanted to do music therapy. And
so just back that up a bit. What's the Mabel app?
So the Mabel app is for people who are support workers and want to find clients, and so you can independently work for yourself. So that's what I decided. I've always worked for myself in some way, shape or form. So I did that, and found some really wonderful clients, and then branched off the Mabel app and just carried on with my clients. But unfortunately, when you're working independently and you're not working in an office full of people, it's just you and your client. And so I wasn't really getting a chance to meet people. I was just going to work and coming home. And so I've made some wonderful neighbour friends, and I've had to move, unfortunately, a couple of times. So but I've still kept in touch with all my neighbours that I've all met.
What about joining a band or joining a choir and that sort of thing that people do? Have you done any of that?
No, well, I did do the band thing. And
how did you find a band?
Yeah.
How does one go about finding a band? I'm
online.
Sure they're not on Mabel.
Online. It's like dating.
Oh, right. Really?
Yeah, it is. No, it really is.
Yeah.
And so I met a couple of guys on this band app, and so we formed our little band. And unfortunately, we're all so busy and we all do shift work, and so we lost our guitarist. We got a new one in, and then the drummer got a new job, and then everyone was just, I got a new job, so I'm working shift work, I'm never available, and Pete wasn't available, and so we just ended up disbanding the band. And which is really disappointing, because I think that's one of the things I really do miss is when I was living back home, I was always gigging. If it wasn't with a jazz band, it was just with a duo. And I really enjoyed it. It's my little outlet.
I can imagine, and I've spoken to people who are creative before, and because I just cannot sing for nuts, and I just to hear people sing beautifully, it must just be so stimulating for you, so satisfying. All those endorphins and
and I love it. Yeah, the dog doesn't love it so much sometimes. But.
Okay, anyone out there who's looking for a sometimes unavailable type of singer, what type of things do you like? Do you still like the jazz?
Yeah, love jazz. I love it all. Yeah. So probably not heavy metal, but
that's where we draw the line.
Yeah, that's metal? It. Yeah.
Okay.
But no, just all the covers, rock and roll, blues. Whatever. I'll sing anything. Yeah,
isn't that great? You said earlier, Katrina, that you had been going to church. Is church still a big part of your life?
No, not really. No. So I kind of left church at 16, and I still have my beliefs and my faith, but I'm not a practicing churchgoer. So
yeah. No, I mean, I thought you were in the right town for churches. If that floated your boat. But,
absolutely, I did find that.
For better or for worse. Can we get back to talking about music therapy, because I am fascinated by it, and I was reading that there's these four pillars. There's receptive, recreational, compositional, and improvisational. Is that right? Do you know about those things?
Can
you tell me about that?
So improvisation is basically, having
improv,
exactly. Just doing what we're doing now. We're not, it's not scripted. It's just going. Let's see what happens.
So, in a music therapy sense, though, how does that work?
Well, to give you an example, one of my clients wanted to play the guitar and wanted to, learn to write. And so we would just sort of talk about, well, what do you want to talk about in your song, and what are you feeling? And so we'd put those emotions and thoughts and feelings down, and we'd try and create like a bit of a passage, or, a structure of a song. And then we just, sit there and we'd muck around with the guitar and see what we could come up with. And I'm not the best guitar player, and she definitely wasn't the best guitar player, but we, muddled through, and we found some chords that worked, and we recorded a little melody that she wanted to, create. And so, you take something, and particularly with someone with a disability who might be going through a rough time, or a mental health issue, all those thoughts and feelings can be written down, and they can be expressed. And it's really, I think, really important that doesn't matter who you are, you've got to have an outlet of expressing yourself. And this was just something that really resonated with her, and it does with a lot of people. So
But tell me about that. Like, why is music different to talking or any other type of therapy? What's what's the
Mhm.
special thing? Like, music can take us to where we were at that moment in our life at that time.
It really
But
does.
what are the other sort of parts of it?
Look, I think music for everyone is probably different, but ultimately, at the end of the day, music is life. It's what we do to celebrate someone's birthday. We sing them a song. It's what we do to celebrate, someone's death. We play a song at the funeral that they, would have cherished. We have a wedding and we have a song that we waltz to. It's just music is everywhere, and you're right about it pinpointing a particular moment in your life. And like for me, I Roxette was my year 12 soundtrack. So anytime I hear a Roxette song, I'm immediately transported back to year 12 and Schoolies Week. And I'm just like, oh, whoa. But, I work with a client who, when I started with him, I think he was 91 and he's turning 94 this year. And music is just, he was a bit of a musician himself, but just an amateur. And I was talking to his daughter the other day, and she just said, you really made an impact on his life. And anytime I see him, I constantly will sing a particular song, and straight away he knows the words. It brings back the emotions. He might cry or he might laugh, but we were really stuck in an era. He didn't remember anything apart from that particular era, so I couldn't sing him anything from the 60s. It was all very much definitely the 30s and 40s songs that were the soundtrack to his life. And but I did get him doing a little bit of akadaka there at one stage.
That's an achievement.
Oh, it really was.
Yeah. Because we see those things all the time about people with severe dementia, and the music comes on and they're able to sing every word. So it's like a dream, isn't it, or some sort of miracle that some part of your brain is switched
It's
on by
still
that
functioning.
music.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, Katrina, we're talking about all these different segments of your career. What did you decide about 18 months ago that you were going to do?
Well, the guitarist in our band actually happened to work for the railway, and he just happened to mention that they were looking for train drivers, and he said, oh, it's the best job in the world. You'll never work another day in your life. And I thought, oh, okay, whatever. But I thought I might actually give this a crack. And so I did. And I got the job. And I was blown away. So, here I am, driving trains now for a living.
Yes, that's quite stunning, isn't it?
It is.
And I don't think, as far as I know, and I think you can correct me, you don't just go from one day deciding that you're going to be a train driver to the next day driving a train. Take me through the process of how you became a train driver.
If you mean you do. But I'm sure there are some people out there who it's been their whole dream to be a train driver, whereas it was never, never came across my crystal ball ever. And so just, I think for me, I was at a turning point knowing that, I'm 51 years of age. I possibly really can't keep working the way I'm working. It's not going to be good for my superannuation or my retirement. I really need to look at getting a real job, is what I called it.
Finally, she gets a real job, Mum says.
To get a real job. Yeah, to have someone pay me to be sick and to be able to take holidays and afford to be able to take those holidays. So when you're working for yourself, you put all that by the wayside and you just keep working. And so that was attractive to me. I went along to a meet and greet to get some more information about the job, and there was a lady there who was the same age as me, and she was just talking about the job, and I just looked at her and resonated with her immensely and just thought, if she can do this, I can do this.
What was it that she said? Can you remember that you thought, yeah, I might be able to do that?
Oh, I think it was just more about the way she said it, and it just came across as really sincere and genuine. And she loved the job, she loved the work. She said it was the best job ever, and she wished she'd done it sooner. And I thought, this is all pointing me in this direction. I need to listen to this and I need to take heed, and I think I need to apply. And so I did, and I got through the first round, I got through the second round. And
what sort of things do you do in a round?
So lots of psychometric testing, lots of coordination testing. You do a physical, you have an interview, you do some group activities. Just lots of lots of things to, I guess, demonstrate if you can multitask. And clearly we know, Megan, that all women can multitask. So I guess I was a shoo-in.
Yeah, well, I'm interested in that because tell me about you're listening to one thing, you're looking at something else, and you're reading something else. How did that all work?
Yeah. So one of the one of the things we do on the job is obviously we're looking out, the windscreen. So we're looking at the road ahead of us. We're hitting a vigilance button, which is there to make sure that we're awake and we're on task. We've got
How often do you have to hit the vigilance button?
It's usually every 90 seconds, but it depends on the train that you're on. Some of the trains are a little bit more modern, and so it can just be a random, 30, 20, 90, 10. Yeah, so you're having to do multiple braking systems, so you're using two hands at once most of the time. And then you've got the sand with your foot pedal, and lots of things to sort of.
So in the testing, I thought you told me the other day that you had to press a green, it says green, yellow, and you're listening.
So in the testing, there's a device that we used, and you've got a screen in front of you that's sort of giving you some information, and you're reading the information, but you're also, that information is telling you to hit a green button and to hit number 7 and to do something else, and you're hearing as well as visualizing and doing. So it's if you're a gamer, you'd be really good at it. I'm not a gamer.
I'll just remind the listeners that we're on Big Little Small Talk with me, Megan O'Hara-Sullivan. We're talking to Katrina Christensen, who is on her, I think, 6th career now as a train driver, incredibly.
Choo-choo.
Katrina, I read somewhere that you have to be highly intelligent to be a train driver.
I know. I read that too.
Yeah. She says incredulously. So tell me about the work, like how you're accepted as an older woman train driver.
Funnily enough, it hasn't been too bad. I mean, every industry will probably have a few sticklers. It really is a man industry in the sense of traditionally that's what we're used to. But like a lot of industries that we're seeing nowadays, women are infiltrating them all, and it's amazing. And so, again, I was responding to someone who I recognised as a woman my age at the meet and greet. And so I felt that, oh, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And clearly there must be some diversity in this industry. So when I went along for the first week of training, the group was half and half. It was 5 men and 5 women, and 3 of those women, or rather 2 of those women, were close in age to me. So I was still the eldest, but they were only within a ballpark of 4 years. And there was an elder gentleman there as well, the same age as me. In another group I've met who have come through prior to us, similar sort of circumstance. And then within the industry itself, there are quite a few women around my age. So it's really gratifying to go to work and to know that you've got some peers who are not 19 and not 22 and relatable. Yeah. So
I read about this thing called Women in Rail, this organisation. Are you part of that?
No. You know more than I do.
I like to do a bit of research.
Oh, you do?
Yes. How stressful is the job as a train driver?
Oh, look, I think you can make it as stressful as you want, or you can make it as stress-free as you want. So I think as long as you're on task, like any job that you go into, you've got a responsibility, and you've got to show up for work being ready and willing and capable. And that's the philosophy I take to work each day, is that I'm there to work. I drive a train that can kill people if, circumstance allowed it. And I have to be really vigilant in not letting that happen. So, it's a big responsibility. It's big machinery. I'm only little. And
so that doesn't weigh on your mind where you think how dangerous it is? You just feel like you've done the training, you know what to do, all of that?
Every day I go to work, and, our whole philosophy with work is that safety is paramount, and, we choose safe, we know safe. And so that's what I go in every day, and I just remind myself that, yes, I must have the best job in the world, but I also have a responsibility to do that job very safely. And so it weighs on my mind, particularly when we can have wildlife run in front of the track. I haven't, touch wood, had an incident with wildlife, but my reaction to that is it would horrify me. So imagine if that was a human. I think I'd be a wreck. And it has happened to people on the job. And, sadly, that's just the nature of what we come up against sometimes. So,
well, of course, the not the war that rages, but the debate that rages about the signalised crossings, isn't there? And I suppose as an employee, that's probably something that you would be wanting to have, but it's all at a cost, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the sort of the hierarchy between the freight drivers and the passenger drivers? Is there anything there, or am I beating that up?
Oh, look,
like the jazz guys and the,
and the classic musicians. Look, there probably is. I haven't been there long enough to see that, and our depot is far removed from passenger trains, so I'm we're not all coming together in the same crib room and having a chat. So we are coal, and that's who I deal with. Yeah. So, but
where do you drive to and from?
So I drive out west, out to the mines. I load up the train with coal, and then we take it down to Brisbane to the port.
Right. Yeah. And what's a typical session? How long?
Look, you can go anywhere from 9 hours to 12 hours. Yeah, so it just depends on the shift that you happen to be on, and if there's any issues on the shift that might need addressing, that might take you overtime. But yeah, most minimum is usually 10 to 11. Yeah.
So would you drive out and back again in a day?
No, we don't. So one shift would be going out to get the coal. Then
and where
somebody
do you
else
stay then?
Oh no, we don't. So we're always back at start at the depot and back at the depot. Yeah. So if I take the train out unloaded, someone else will come and relieve us, and they'll bring that train back in to the depot, and then someone will take that train from the depot or just on the outskirts there down to Brisbane, and then someone else will come back and bring that train up empty. So there's usually 4 crews.
Right. And you're always with someone, aren't you? You're never driving on your own.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah. So we're a 2-man team. And at the moment, while we've got a lot of trainees going through, we've got 3 men usually in the carriage. Yeah.
One of the things that I did look up all about train drivers are, do train drivers have their own toilet?
Thankfully, most of the locos do. Yes. And it was a very chilly night the other night, Megan. It was 1 degree outside, but I swear that toilet seat was probably -5 degrees.
Or felt like it. Don't they use that?
That's it, yes. So, no, yeah, we do have a couple of locos that don't have a toilet on there, but generally the second loco that we're with as well. So we're 2 locos always. May have a
just
toilet.
One loco away from a toilet.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a bit like that question of, apparently when the astronauts go around to the schools, that's all they get asked is how you go to the toilet. Yeah, it's the only question.
It's the only time I wish I was a man.
Exactly. Now, I have said how your voice, Katrina, is just stunningly beautiful to listen to as well.
And
I did hear about your podcast, because you do a podcast as well. Tell me about it.
I do. So one of my clients, Ian Hayden, he's an award-winning writer, and there's a lot of other accolades to his name.
Is he a Toowoomba man?
He is originally from Sydney, but yeah, no, he's lived here now for quite a few years, him and his wife. And yeah, I just got to working with him, and we were starting out.
How was that connection made?
Purely just through piano lessons. Yeah, so just doing some therapy work there, and then that kind of moved on to there's a disability program that and I should have been more organised, Megan, and I might even try and find it on my phone. Okay, so there's a Ian did a small film and put it into this competition, and he won. And from there, he got the bug to do more film work and to do more writing. So he's a really wonderful writer, and so we got talking, and we decided that maybe we should do a podcast. And
so Ian's main topic of conversation, or with his podcast and his therapy, why was he having therapy?
So Ian's got multiple sclerosis, and just wanted to have access to music. They have a beautiful piano. He wanted to play the piano. So Annie contacted me. That's his beautiful wife. And from there, we've just built this beautiful friendship over 3 years. And
the podcast is called?
So it's Messing About. It's actually a capital MS-ING, so multiple sclerosis. So Messing About. And he's got a website attached to it. He's got the podcast. You can see short films on there as well. And our latest podcast that we're talking about is all about how to write. So initially we focused on just anything and everything. We talked about nothing really in general, maybe my love life every now and then. And he found that quite a good
short version.
He liked all the different stories that I had to tell him.
I've been going in the wrong direction, clearly.
Yes,
I've been wasting my time with the music therapy and the train driving. You'll have to come back for version number 2, Katrina.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So messing about, that sounds brilliant.
It really is. And we have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Yeah. So we seem to bounce off each other really well, which I really enjoy. So
yeah, well, Ian might be a future guest of mine on Big Little Small Talk.
I think so.
We'll have to get him in, have a podcast off. Okay, in my last few minutes that I've got you, I want to ask you some questions.
Okay.
This is probably not a very appropriate question because the whole time you've been in here, you have been smiling and laughing. But what made you smile today, Katrina?
Yeah, look, lots of things make me smile. It's never usually far off my face, a smile, but probably my little dog Audrey. She's a Maltese Shih Tzu, and I probably lost her about. Not lost her. We'll cut that out. Cut that out.
Your dog.
So my dog Audrey, she's a little Maltese Shih Tzu, and almost lost her 3 times last year. And through all the sickness that she had, she then developed an autoimmune disease. And so she hasn't been the best of health. And so any day that, I wake up and she's feeling sprightly, then, it puts a smile on my face because I think it's just one more day I've got with her. What sort
of things happened to her health?
So she ended up with a kidney issue. And so we treated that. And then the temperature, her temperature just wouldn't go down. It was constantly high. It was high for about 3 or 4 weeks. We had multiple scans, multiple x-rays, multiple blood tests, little lumbar punches, just trying to find out what was going on. And this is what has been settled on. But we've had every drug under the sun to try and balance what's going on in her little body. And we think we've got it right at the moment. But she won't have a long life now. She'll have a shorter life. But I'll just give her the best shorter life she can have.
Well, so you're probably a better person than I am because I'm just thinking dollars at the vets.
Yes, it was.
Okay, what's your favourite celebrity scandal?
Oh, I'm not really
into... You don't love celebrity scandals?
Yeah, look, I don't have time to follow it.
What's Roxette doing these days?
Yeah, well, she passed away.
Oh, dear. Oh, sorry about that.
No, all good.
Okay, next question.
No. Well, I did think about that, though, because I guess the one scandal that we all thought of was, it was quite big in the news at the time, was the Bill Clinton Monica Lewinsky, and funnily enough,
did not have sexual relations with that woman.
That's it. And the amount of times I heard that was quite funny because at the time I was rocking the same sort of hairdo as Monica Lewinsky, and everyone would say, "Oh my God, you look like Monica." So I promptly went and got a haircut.
Right, not the blue dress. Oh no. Gosh, that was just fabulous, wasn't it? It was just the gift that kept giving.
It did.
What about, have you ever been on a blind date? I'd say you have by the little teaser that you gave me before about your love life.
I have, and funnily enough, I'm going on one tomorrow.
Oh my God!
So we
delicious.
Might have to, I know we might have to do a take 2.
Oh well, I won't ask you about it in case you give something away. And but yes, we do need a take 2. We'll have to see how it goes.
Follow
Are
up.
you feeling nervous about it?
No, I've been on too many now. Right. I know what to expect, and I'm not expecting much. So, which sounds really terrible. I'm not picky by any means. But
have your friends set you up on this blind date, or is
no?
I've
set it up myself. Okay. Yes. So apparently it's all online these days, Megan.
Oh, yes,
that's how you have to play.
That's right. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Oh well, that's good luck. Good luck.
Thanks.
Can we find out not where exactly you're meeting, but where you're going for a walk? Because the strategy. Do you go for a walk in the park? Do you meet someone for a coffee? Or
that's it. Well, I have been told that you don't do dinner because dinner can always maybe lead to other things, and if you don't, if you're not that way inclined, no. So we're just having lunch.
Having lunch. Okay, well, I wish you all the best for that. I can't imagine it's just so stressful. Well, this might be the same question. What's the biggest risk you've ever taken? Is it the blind date that you've set up for yourself?
The biggest risk, possibly doing this job, was probably the biggest risk. It was going into something I just have no idea about. I'm not mechanically minded at all. You know, I fail to recognise my own car at most days. So.
It's been stolen. It's been stolen again. Oh no, I put it on the third floor, not the second.
Yeah,
floor.
that's it. Yeah, no, it's terrible. So, yeah, so I think for me that was the biggest risk, was deciding that I'm going to come out of something that I've done all my life. It's me. It's who I am. I'm a musician. I'm a singer. Every part of my body just screams music. And now all of a sudden, here I am driving, you know, these massive trains. And I still sing the whistle every now and then, though.
I was just going to ask you a very literal question. Do you get to wear that little engine driver's hat?
No, I don't. But funnily enough, I have one.
just for dress up.
Yeah, so my beautiful Alzheimer's client John bought me that as a parting gift, and he's just beautiful. So yeah, it does come out every now and then.
That's sweet. Oh, that is so sweet. Katrina, who's been the most influential person in your life?
Oh, I think my mum. Yeah, she's amazing. So she does anything, and mum would be a great one to get on this show, because she's had an amazing career and life and what she's done, but she's just always been just a rock steady for me, and just love her. And yeah, you got to draw inspiration from that.
Yeah,
she brings a tear to my eye.
She does bring a tear to your eye. Well, that's a lovely thought. What about what scares you most about your future?
Being alone. Yeah, I really don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
And
do you mean in the sense of not having a partner, or do you mean sort of dying alone? Or
I think a bit of everything. I think coming from mum having such a big family, to me just having a brother is quite sort of and he's
feels a bit minimalist.
It does. I feel, you know, really ripped off. And I often said that to my mum, you're going to have another baby. But no, just I think, you know, again, I don't have a partner. So my daughter's just moved back to Rockhampton, so I'm living by myself at the moment. And so that's quite lonely, coming home and going, oh, it's just me and the dog. But also too, like my children are travelling, and my son's just returned from Japan after 2 years. And I just thought, wow, you know, what a wonderful life. But he's so far away, and now he's about to head off to Canada, and I just sort of, you know, I miss that family. I miss having people around. And so I think, you know, I've always wanted this house full of people at Christmas time and Easter and holidays and just in general. So I might have to get a flatmate, Megan.
It's hard though, isn't it, as you get older? It really is.
Yeah.
You know, we started to talk about that before, and I often think, well, after I graduated, I went to live up in Cairns, and I just didn't meet people. I wasn't religious. I didn't play sport. I worked with a whole lot of older people, and I just didn't meet anybody. I just think it is hard.
It is hard, and the older you get, it's hard too. And I think with the nature of my job, my roster is always rotating. It's not a set week, so I can't plan. I can't join a group because I can't consistently be there. So that makes it hard. But you know, again, you just got to take yourself out. I took myself out to the City Golf Club for a beer the other day after work. I thought, no, I'm just going to go and have this beer, and I met a beautiful bunch of people. Admittedly, all in their 70s, but it was lovely. And
they love their dancing there at the City Golf Club.
Oh, they do, and their trivia. So I will be back there to meet these people hopefully one Thursday night.
Sons or daughters that might be, you know,
fingers
candidates for friends, or more than friends, perhaps.
Look at you setting me up.
I know. I am an eternal matchmaker. It's my lifelong ambition.
We're going to have
one
listeners
success.
calling in.
Yes.
How to date Katrina.
All right. Are you a royal watcher, Katrina?
Oh, look, not really.
I think you'd have a little bit of a sort of a watch on the side, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I've seen, you know, the stories about Meghan and Harry and Princess Kate with her sickness and the feud and everything. But yeah,
do you have a favourite royal? It doesn't have to be an English one.
No, I'd probably say if anyone was going to be my favourite, it would be Queen Mary, from Denmark. Yeah, yes. our Australian Mary, flying the flag for us Aussies.
Yes, the Tassie, our Tassie. Yes. She's very beautiful and very dignified, isn't she?
She is. She's just a classic lady, and you know, she's doing such a great thing as an ambassador for Australia. And I just think, wow, you know, if she can find her prince, maybe I can too, Megan.
I like the sound of that.
Just putting it out there.
But we'll take anything that, even if you're not a prince, we'll take that.
Oh,
Do you
right.
think?
Anything that moves. No, not at all. We have standards.
Okay, so this is definitely your best question for you. What's
okay.
the song that can't keep you off the dance floor? Do you dance as well as sing?
I dance really badly. If anyone's seen Seinfeld, I am Elaine. But no, Blurred Lines. I almost traumatized my children with that song growing up.
Tell me who sings Blurred Lines?
Robin Thicke. Yes.
Can you just give me a little tiny bit of Blurred Lines?
Oh, it's a bit baby, can't you see? No, I can't. You've got to have to listen to it. Yeah,
we'll find Blurred Lines, and where does Blurred Lines take you to when you hear that song?
Housework, because I would always put it on when I was cleaning the house because I just wanted something to motivate me. So that's generally when I put the music on. Is I need to get this job done. We better make it happy. So yeah. So.
Oh, our time has run out, unfortunately, Katrina, but you have just been a beautiful guest. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's been a real pleasure being here, so thank you.
It's been beautiful. And thank you, listeners, for being with us today on Big Little Small Talk. But, Katrina, that's lovely. Thank you again.
Thanks, Megan.
That's it for this week. Thanks for joining me on Big Little Small Talk. I hope you can make the time to join me next week. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favourite podcast app.